Alright, maybe you've seen my other videos and know I have 2 Pokemon regions that I haven't gotten close to completing. I've barely scratched the surface of fleshing out each region with its own fundamentals like gyms, cities, and complete Pokedexes. I've pretty much only made starters for these regions and a couple Pokemon. When I make a Pokemon, I usually choose which of my regions it fits into better and throw it in there. There's still many Pokemon I've drawn on paper that I've assigned to a region but haven't talked about yet. Despite having 2 regions that I've barely worked on, I want to start a new region. It will be a region that I hope to give proper attention to and complete with cities, gyms, and a full Pokedex. It may seem like I'm not fit for this task given that I've paid little attention to my 2 other regions. However, this new region will be based on an area that I've given more thought, and I hope to go through with this project. By the way, I just want to note that that region down there that is next to Hoenn is not the new region that I'm talking about. It's a region that I made a while ago, like I think the first region I tried to make, and it's always just been on the map, but I think I'll make a new map soon, and cause I don't think about that region anymore, and I don't have the drawings of the Pokemon from there and stuff. But yeah, just a disclaimer that that's not the new region. With that, I'll talk about some Pokemon. I know a proper introduction would be the starters, but I haven't finished the starters, so in this video, I'm just gonna be showing some random Pokemon. So yeah, I'll start off with this simple design that feels a bit like a Froakie ripoff. Rogflip is based on a tree frog and is a pure normal type. It doesn't evolve and it's about the size of a Froakie. Rogflip live in trees and don't venture to the ground often. They're very skilled acrobats in the canopy, and their long sticky tongues can be used to grab tree branches and other surfaces, pulling Rogflip towards them like a grappling hook. The tongue is also used to catch bug Pokemon, Rogflip's prey. Although this isn't really the primary use, as there isn't really a primary use since Rogflip's tongue is used for so many things. So yeah, that's Rogflip. It's actually a new drawing of a Pokemon I made years ago. I don't think I changed anything about Rogflip, and I think its design is good. Kind of because it's pretty much a ripoff of a successful Pokemon, but Rogflip isn't literally just a green Froakie. I guess I stole the tongue idea from Greninja, sort of, but Rogflip can keep their tongues in their mouths, and do so when they're not using it, unlike Greninja. Well, maybe Greninja can put their tongues in their mouths, but that's rarely seen. Alright, so on this page I had other sketches of Pokemon I was thinking of, so I just wanted to show these, although when I was trying to draw some of these ideas, I had trouble getting them right. For example, that line of Pokemon that are vaguely sketched in the corner. Decabullet is based on a basic bullet and a squid. This Pokemon is quite small, usually only reaching between 6 and 8 inches tall. This water fire type lives in oceans. They can live in coastal areas but also inhabit the deep sea. Their one eye is very perceptive, and they use their coordination to strike opponents by launching themselves through or out of the water, or simply blasting themselves towards an opponent on land. They use their explosive power to launch themselves, often sending fire behind them like a rocket. Decabullet evolves into Calablastet. This Pokemon is based on the ammo for a 50 cal sniper rifle, hence its sharper, longer shape. Calablastet can make themselves fly in a controlled way for a short period of time when they launch themselves out of the water or off the ground. Flames are generated between their tentacles when they do this. They can turn in the air before sending themselves into targets, causing explosions. Their explosions are usually fiery, but because of their water type, they can explode in a way that erupts in scalding hot water. A lot of steam rises after those types of explosions. Now, I think I got my idea across with Calablastit, although I wanted it to look a bit different. I knew I wanted the cute Deca Bullet to evolve into a Pokemon that looks kind of edgy. I think I gave Calablastit kind of an edgy vibe with how its one eye looks, but I had something else in mind. I wanted it to look like Scolipede, which is my favorite bug type, and a big part of that is its menacing appearance that shows its cool personality. I wanted to do that here, but make the eye look more vibrant. I had the idea of making its eye light blue with the dark eyelid, but it didn't work. Maybe I can draw it how I originally imagined it and show it in a future video, because I really like the concept of this middle evolution. Now, before I talk about Crenamisol, I just want to say that this picture isn't really an accurate representation on how these Pokemon look side by side, since Deca Bullet is supposed to be really small, which I think I show here, and Calablastit is only supposed to be like maybe 2 feet tall, maybe 3 feet, something like that. But overall, not that big. Like I'd say 2 feet tall, actually, maybe even less. And Crenamisol is supposed to be like enormous. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. And now I'll talk about Crenamisol. Crenamisol are very large and powerful. Their main bodies can grow to be over 10 feet tall, and their tentacles are also pretty long. Crenamisol can fly through the air for longer periods of time than their pre-evolution. Their explosive power lets them blast off the ground or out of the water quickly. When they fly up, they can turn back down and jet into their targets, causing an explosion that decimates their surroundings. The explosion can set surroundings on fire or flood them with boiling water and clog the air with thick steam, depending on what type of explosion Crenamisol uses. Now, this drawing isn't perfect, and I didn't draw what I really imagined. I really imagined the colors to be more vibrant and for it to represent both its types better. I also feel like it looks rather emotionless, which makes it look more like an unsentient object. Speaking of objects, this drawing somewhat ironically has the opposite problem of not looking enough like the inanimate object it's inspired by, on top of not conveying enough emotion. Crenamisol is based on a missile, as its name implies. It's also based on a rocket, which I think works well, as Crenamisol flies through the air while blasting fire. Also, giant squids and rockets have something in common, their shape, and rockets have a window or windows that looks kind of like the eye or eyes. In the past, there was kind of a misconception that giant squids only had one eye. That's where I got the idea to make these Pokemon one-eyed. I wanted Crenamisol's one eye to kind of resemble the circular window of a rocket that's seen in pictures. However, I think Crenamisol looks too much like a squid and not enough like its inspiration. Hopefully I can make some good changes later. Now I'll move on to a fakemon I think is pretty cool. This is Fainine. I drew a pre-evolution, but I want to start with the main mon, and I'll get to why later. Fainine live in grassy plains. Their long legs let them see over the tall grass. They usually live alone and are deceitful tricksters. Fainines can fluff up their manes and lower their ears to make themselves look like a different Pokemon that draws their prey towards them and tricks their enemies. Alright, so this concept isn't like fully complete since I haven't made the Pokemon that they're trying to mimic, and basically my idea is, since this Pokemon's based off of maned wolf, and because of maned wolf's manes, they slightly look like horses, so I'm gonna try to make this Pokemon be trying to pretend to be a horse Pokemon that I have yet to make, and that horse Pokemon is like a friendly Pokemon that isn't dog type and that other Pokemon wouldn't try to avoid, and that's how Fainine would lure them towards it. This ruse would work best at dusk. because that's when Faynine's outline would become a darker silhouette. Now, I also want to talk about the pre-evolution, Lenqueño. There's really not much to say about it, since it's just the younger form of Faynine. I think the drawing is fine, although I want to make it look more obviously younger. Maybe I can do that by exaggerating some of its features more than Faynine, like giving it bigger boots. Well, technically more fur on the legs that resemble boots, like Nicket and Thievel. Speaking of them, it might be a little obvious that I took little inspiration from them. Anyway, I should also probably give Lenqueño a simpler body, but I'm not really sure how I'd simplify this. I mainly just feel like someone could mistake this for an adult Pokemon, which is why I decided to show the evolved form first. When I was thinking about going on a different route with the main Dwarfmon, I came up with this design. I didn't use it because it shares no personality with Faynine. It doesn't look like a dog type, which is why it's pure normal type. I was planning on evolving it into a normal dog type or a pure dog type when I thought I should make a main dwarf Pokemon that looked more like many other Pokemon, with normal sized eyes that could still look edgy and a slightly less elongated body. This design would evolve into something that could show off some diverse emotions. It could look angry and stuff, but Faynine kind of looks like a skeleton with how skinny it is and looks creepy, which I like. Overall, I'm glad with how Faynine turned out. Well, that's all the Pokemon I'll be sharing in this video. Thanks for watching.